Hello, I'm happy you've joined me. I'm Timbo Took, and this is A Joy of Painting Middle-earth, a time when we come together to paint the most fantastic landscapes Middle-earth has to offer. And maybe we'll paint a scary one a time or two. That can be quite fun, you know. Now, I may not be the best painter in the Shire, but I do love it so. And I'd love for you to paint right along with me. So if you're ready, grab your paints and your brushes, and let's go on an adventure. Okay, today we're going to be painting something from old Mr. Bilbo's story, There and Back Again. That's right, A Hobbit's Tale. It comes from chapter 7 of his book, and that's where they go to Beorn's hall. So we're going to be putting that down on the canvas today. So I've got my canvas prepared. I've put that liquid white down all over the canvas. So we have a wet on wet technique. So you can see if you just put enough white down so you can see your fingerprint through the white, you know you have enough. Okay, now we're going to start off. I've got it prepared. We're just going to come into my phthalo blue and we're going to drop in a sky. So just get some of that. This is a very dark blue, but I've got the white on the canvas. And we do that so they mix together. That's right, it's a magic white that's on there. So what you do is go into the top in the corners with your color when you're coming in right at first. There you go. You can see it's very dark, but that's okay. That'll lighten up. So as we come down, just mix that together on the canvas. You don't want to just make it all one solid color because we're going to leave the impression of some clouds on the canvas. There we go. Just bring it in. There we go. Just little crisscross X patterns. We're going to have some trees and things here, so you don't need to make it so mixed in. Now, just to get the rest of the paint off that brush, just bring it in here. We're not actually going to have water in here today. We don't want to waste paint. We just want a darker tone at the bottom of our painting. So we'll just put this here. If we were doing water, we'd leave a little white spot. We wouldn't bring it all together in the middle because we'd want a reflection. But we'll just bring that in. There we go. And come up, just soften out this sky a bit. There we are. Just bring that across. And at the end, you just hit it with a light stroke right across. That'll really smooth it out for you. Let's wash the brush. Now we wash our brush in odorless paint thinner. And again, it's a bit rainy out today, so I'm painting in my hobbit hole. Oh, this season I get stuck inside for quite a long time, so that's why we haven't been back out in the pastures. But we'll get back out there soon. There we go. Now, because I'm painting in the hobbit hole, I can't beat the Sauron out of the brush just on the easel like I like to do. So I have a rubbish bin. I just beat it down in there. Just get that, knock that color out of the brush. Okay. All right, we're going to come in. We're just going to drop in a few clouds real quick, just with our fan brush, just going into some titanium white. Just load it up there on the brush. Now I've got quite a bit of phthalo blue on there, so these clouds aren't going to be real white. They're going to mix right away. So just come up and with the corner of the brush, just circle that cloud into the sky. There we go. And then flip your brush over. You see, it's already become blue on one side. And then I still have that white corner over there. So we'll do another one right up here. There we go. Just mix that in. There we are. Nothing too big today, so what we'll do, we'll come back with that clean, dry brush. And just with the corner of our 2-inch brush, we're just gonna take the bottom of that cloud, not the top, just the bottom, and we're going to soften that out just a bit. as I said, we're not going to spend too much time on these clouds today. Then we'll just come back. Oops, dropped a brush. It didn't have paint on it though. All right, now we just lift those clouds, lift them up, lift them up. There we go. There we go. Now, if you know the story old Mr. Bilbo used to tell, well, he'd tell it to the others. Old Mr. Bilbo was gone before I was born. But my Grandpappy Took and my Grandgaffer Gamgee told all the stories to me, and I did read his tale. And this is a day where they just had a harrowing night up in the trees. It was out of the frying pan and into the fire. They got out of the misty mountains away from those goblins, and they were tracked. And they also were attacked by the wargs, so they were up in those trees, and there was quite a fire going. But they were saved by the eagles, and they brought them down to this land where Beorn lived. Okay, now that we've dropped in the sky, what's going to happen is our party is going to come up on Beorn's place. So there will be a clearing down here, some forest in the back. So let's drop in that forest before we go any further. And we're just going to come into some of our ivory black. There we go. We just want a dark green. There we are. Just something we can build upon. So we're going to come here. On this forest, it's just right back here. So there we go. We're just dropping it in. Dropping it in here. We'll put some leaves and things on there. This is the forest after they've come down out of the misty mountains. And they've made it to Beorn's place. So we'll just drop this in here. And it just kind of comes back over here. The closer it gets, the taller it seems. If that makes sense to you. There we go. Now, the best thing about when you start painting, especially if it's been a long time since you've painted, maybe since you were just a young hobbit, and you pick up the brush as, a little bit older hobbit, what you do is you start going outside, and you start looking at the clouds and the trees in a way that you haven't looked at them since you were just a child. That's right. That's right. So when you go out today, look at those clouds, look at the trees, look at the way they hit your eye, the way the light reflects off them, the way the leaves in the back are darker and the leaves in the front that catch the light are lighter. That's all because you're painting now. Painting just helps you enjoy the world that's around you even more. You know, things might seem pretty dark out there. No matter how dark it seems, there's always hope. And if you paint, oh boy, you find that hope easy when you walk out your door and you look at the trees and things and you look at the clouds. Oh, those clouds have been there since you were young, and they've been waiting for you to look at them again. See what kind of shapes they're making. What do you see in the clouds? There we go. We'll just drop this in. This is where our trees and things will be. Some are taller than others. That's right. Now we'll just take that brush, that dirty old brush, and we just come right back in here. There we go. It doesn't matter. This is all going to be covered up. Now let's clean off that brush. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to put some indications of the trees that are in there. So I've got a script liner brush, and I just want to put some things in there. You may need to put just a little bit of your odorless paint thinner on that. And then we'll just come in a nice dark brown color. See if we can get this to lay down. There we go. There we go. Just with our script liner brush. Now, these are mostly going to be hidden, so don't take too long. Don't take too long on them. Just pick up some of that color we had, and don't even think about it. Just put some indications in there. There we go. There we are. Clean off that little liner brush. Now, we don't want to beat the Sauron out of this little liner brush. It wouldn't last very long. So we just gently dab the Sauron out of it. Kind of squish it. That's right. Okay, now let's fill in those trees with some color here. So, we'll take that sap green, just push it into the brush. There we are. Maybe. Now, let's just tap this in. There we go. Now, in the back, the leaves are the darkest. And then, as they get closer to you, you can see a little bit more of that color, but it's still dark. And then what we'll do is we'll come and we'll give some highlights even onto these. There we go. Just with our 1-inch brush, just wrapping these in. Oh, you could use your 2-inch brush if you wanted. These not a lot of detail on these trees. That's right. Just giving the indication of what's going on. You don't want to squish it too much. I kind of mixed some mud right there. You don't want to mix mud on the canvas. That's right. You just tap it. Now we'll come down even into some of our yellow. Put it into our sap green. And then come back. And these are the leaves that are catching the sunlight. There we go. So these will mostly be up at the top. Maybe these stick out here. So you can see, you kind of spread them out. So you're dark and you're light. That's what'll highlight it. There we go. That's all there is to it. All there is to it. There we go. Now that's still a pretty dark forest. That would be a little bit of a scary one to go into alone. Especially if you know you've got Beorn around. Oh, who's Beorn? Oh, he was mighty intimidating. He was a nice enough host, I suppose. But our Hobbit and the dwarves, oh, they were on their best behavior, you can bet, when they were there. The dwarves didn't behave very well at Bilbo's house, but oh, they behaved when they were at Beorn's house. You would too if you're eating dinner with somebody who could change into a bear at any moment. That's right. All right. So now that we've got that in, let's come back in with our 2-inch brush and let's give ourselves a meadow down here. He's got a clearing, and he's got beehives and gardens and flowers and all sorts of things. He even has horses. That's right. Okay. So let's come to our 2-inch brush. I'm just going to clean that one off so we don't have dirty brushes lying all over the place. Okay. Now we'll come back to that brush we were using. And this one, we're just going to lay in just some dark grass. Just using our sap green with that little bit of yellow and the dark that was in there. And now we're just going to lay in our meadow. Just remember, if your easel's a bit shaky, just put a big old hobbit foot on it. That's right. Just drop in our meadow. Now, Mr. Bilbo told us that Beorn's hall was lined with a very dark hedge. So what we're going to do to make that dark hedge, I'm just going to come in with my dirty brush right into our phthalo blue. Going to get some of our ivory black. We'll just mix that together. There. And a touch of alizarin crimson. I probably didn't need much alizarin crimson today, but that's all right. We'll figure out where we can use it. So we're just looking for a dark color. And the meadow is ringed by a dark hedge. See if we can get this to stick down. There we go. Oops. Settle down, Timbo. I wave this thing around like I'm fighting a dragon or something. There we go. And we want this hedge to be nice and dark. Sometimes we pick up the paint. If our paint is too thick, we start picking up the thinner paint underneath. There we go. And we'll come back and highlight that hedge. But before we do that, there's also some large oak trees just outside of that hedge. So I'm going to come to our fan brush. There we go. And that forest is off in the distance. So these large oaks, they'll be a little taller because they're closer to us, as we said. So we just come right over there, just making these oak trees, these tall oak trees, just on the other side of that hedge there. There we go. Let's give them some branches here. Now you can see your paint right there. You can keep it a little thick, and that really gives you some. That Gives you some character to that, some bark on that tree. Not a bite on that tree, just bark. These trees here, they don't have a lot of bite to them. But you get into Fangorn Forest or even Mirkwood. Those are the trees that you have to watch out for. Big oak there. Let's go with another one right back here. Mr. Bilbo said they ringed Beorn's hall and his pastures and things. So you just drop them in just like that. You can use a different brush if you want, but I like all the little things that this fan brush will give us. There we go. Right up that way. This is a tall, tall tree. And you can see, if you just press a little bit harder, you're going to pick up some of the paint. So one side you can make a little darker than the other. As I said, that's the fun thing about painting. You start to go out and look at those trees. Look how they're built. And right back here, we'll put one back here. He's a tall one. He's a tall one, this guy. And we still have to put in Beorn's hall. So I don't know, I might be painting right over the tops of these trees. Just depends on where I want to put the hall. There we go. Branches there that come together. Now, you don't need to make those solid because we're going to come back and put some leaves on there. And those leaves, some of them will hide the branches, and sometimes you'll be able to see the branch right through the leaves. There we go. There we are. So we got some nice trees back there. Let's wash off our brush. All right, I'm going to go into my other fan brush. You can see this one. Oh, he's had some abuse over the years. He's a bit ragged, but a ragged brush will give you some fun things. So, and again, what we're going to do, again, we remember, like I said, you go out, you look at the trees. It's going to be those leaves that are furthest away from you are dark leaves. So we just put in those dark colors. Just follow the lines of those branches you gave in there. There we go. There we go. You could spend all day doing these trees. And if that's all you want to do, that's fine. You don't have to do the painting all at once. You don't have to do it all at once. Just take the corner of your brush. Just get some real dark on there. And then just in here where the leaves are their thickest, you just cover up some of that work you just did, but that's okay. That's okay. You can see right through the tree right there. Right through that tree. Let's come back and do some of the same over here. These are grand old oak trees. There we go. Same on this side. And you can go at it slow, or you can just come in and just a little bit faster, just tap in what you think it would look like. Look at the shapes of trees. Now, some trees are shaped on purpose. If you have an artist that's a gardener. I don't know where you'd find one of those in the Shire. Oh, gardening maybe. In my family genes. There we go. But really it's not me. I mostly ruin everything I try and grow. Oh, it's terrible. There we go. Now let's come back and let's give a little highlight on these. So just clean off that brush. There we are. Get some of that darker color off. And again, let's go. We just want a lighter green, not so much yellow yet. Not so much yellow yet, just a lighter green. See what we can do with him. Just coming on here and just tap in. You see there, those dark leaves in the back give something for our lighter green to shine upon. There we go. And you're just kind of going willy-nilly here. Don't try and cover the whole thing up. There we go. And you'll get to know your brushes. How do you do, Mr. Fun Brush? Oh, I'm just fine. What are you going to do for me today? Oh, just however you'd like me to drop some paint on the trees. That's right. You get to know these fellers. Some of them do one thing, some of them do another. As long as you all get along, everybody will have a good time. That's right. That's right. And there's no reason why we shouldn't all get along. We all want the same things. We all want the same. We want the best for our families. And hopefully we want the best for everyone else too. There we go. All right. A little more on this tree. I've probably spent too much time on these trees already. When I present it to you, I may just clip out a few places where I took a little too much time. Just because I know a lot of you have lots of things to do and you can't sit around all day and watch me. Although I do appreciate it if you watch me. As my little hobbits say, they say, oh, be sure and remind everybody to mash that subscribe button. Oh, mash the subscribe button. I don't know what that means, but it reminds me of mashed potatoes. Potatoes, boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew. That's right. I'm hungry now. I think it's time for second breakfast. It may even be going on 11sies. There we go. I took nearly all morning doing this. And just on the edge there, just drop that in. Now, we're going to come just to our yellow. That's right. Now the sun will catch some of these. Some of these we just want to highlight. Just decide, oh, I was just talking about having second breakfast and my belly started rumbling. So on these outer edges, they'll pick up some of the sunlight. There we go. There. This is a nice green painting. Sometimes the paintings have themes. Sometimes they're yellow or gold if it's Lothlorien. Sometimes they'll be scary. There we go. But what we do want to do is grab some of our burnt umber. That's our brown color. And we want to give a little highlight onto these trunks. And it looks like I have the sun coming this way, so we'll just highlight this side of the trunk. There we go. And you just pull that around, and you see that softens it out. Some of that swirl, as those trunks tend to do. There we go. And right here, just come right up the side. Okay. Now let's give this hedge. Let's do something with this hedge. Now maybe this hedge, maybe we don't want it just to look like part of the trees. So let's give it a little bit of a maybe. Come in here. Oh, it looks like I got this a little wet. Should stick okay, as long as we don't have to put anything on top of it. Maybe just a touch of blue in there. Oh, it doesn't take much. That really got it pretty blue. And we'll see if we can give our hedge some highlights here. That's a thorny hedge. You can't squeeze through that very easily. Oh, maybe a hobbit can, but that is tough enough to try and get through that hedge there. And I'm not too worried about it right over here. I think I'm going to put Beorn's Hall right there. Right there. There we are. Now, all right. Let's go on now and put in Beorn's Hall. So, I think what we'll do is it's going to be right here. So, we're going to just pull off some of the paint. That'll make it a little easier to paint right on top of it. Take as much paint off of that as you can. It'll run back this way. Oh, goodbye, tree. And you might be thinking, oh, Timbo, what are you doing there? I don't know. I'm not good at painting these things, but it's fun just to try. Okay. Now, we need some heavy timbers here. Just mix that together. And now the thing about the way Beorn created this hall, he just came and he put a few big beams here. There we go. I might have gotten a little ambitious and made this a little big, but that's okay. We want this one to come down this way, actually. We want it to go here. That big heavy beam. And this, we'll just scrape right off like that. There we go. Put that back on. And we've got this big heavy beam. And this one too. Now let's make up. Let's just make up a color here that we can use for the wood. We'll put in a little bit of a alizarin crimson. Grab some of our white. There we go. Make that up. Make that up. There we are. Don't mix it all together. But what we do here is we just bring this wood straight down. Straight down. Oops, that wasn't quite straight. I should figure that out. There we go. That'll give us... Need to make up some more of that color. Used it up pretty quick. There we go. Some alizarin crimson. Some titanium white. Even a little bit of that mossy green in there. There we are. This comes straight down. You got some moss there. This is quite an old structure. Oops, I didn't follow my own advice. I didn't bring it straight down. Now, whether it was Beorn or some of the animals he taught how to do things for him, he was a much better craftsman at this than I. But that's okay. That's okay. Now, we know in our story that there was a veranda out here, and that's where Gandalf sat with Beorn trying to tell him the story of their tale as he had the dwarves walk up 2 by 2 by 2. That's right, because he didn't want to overwhelm Beorn, because Beorn could become quite angry. So there were 2 wings to this house that were there, and there was some big heavy doors here. I'm just going to put in the doorway. There we go. There we go. This is that big heavy door. Maybe there's a window right here. Right next to it. And another one here. There we go. And the roof comes back this way. Now, Beorn's hall, I'm sure, looked much more majestic than that. But we do what we can. Maybe these beams stuck right up here. There we go. Maybe they crossed right up here. as those men in the northern hills would build their structures. There we are. Now, this roof here was a thatched roof. And that grass would be old and dried. So let's come into some yellow ochre and our cadmium yellow and get what would be just some of that dried thatch there. There we go. And we just pop that on. Come back to it. Just using our 2-inch brush there. And give it some rose there. There we go. So this comes out. And there's some steps there. And just give that step a little bit of shadow here. There we go. Now, maybe a path comes out here. Put our path right through the grass, right down this way, and it comes back right towards us. Right towards us. There we are. There we go. Now, at the base here, the grass and things grow right up to it. So just pop in some grass and weeds and things of that nature right at the base, just to push that back. And just bring our grass out right over the path there. Now we've got some beehives, and we want to make up some of our beehives back here. These are made of wicker baskets. Beorn would weave them together, and these would be dome hives sitting here in the yard. If you've ever seen these beehives sitting in the yard, they produce lots and lots of honey. I'm just using some yellow ochre And these are just like a mound. And he had a bunch of them. We'll just do a few for right now. And then, of course, there were bees like Bilbo had never seen before, flying around these beehives. He said, if I was stung by one of those, I'd swell up again the same size of myself. And of course, Beorn had all sorts of gardens and flowers here, but I'll leave that for if you want to go back in and do all that yourself. There we go. Okay, and we can come in and put some of those details in later, but I want to put a path and some big oak trees hanging over, some dark ones, because we're coming out of the darkness into the pastures. So what we'll do here is we'll just take our dark color and we'll give a bit of a hillocks here that we're standing atop of. And we'll put some grass and stuff on top of here. Now, we want maybe even a little red in there. We want a nice big twisted oak tree. Comes right here. Look at this guy. That's why we weren't too worried about what was going on over here. That's right. Just pick up those colors that are underneath and use them right in your tree. And this is an old, gnarled and knotted oak tree. And he twists right over like maybe somebody who's shaped like a bear just pushed him right over as he was coming home tired one night. There we go. And it bent him right over. Tired of fighting those goblins. Fighting those goblins there. Maybe he bends this way too. Picking up where I put that beam. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh yes. We'll put some red in there too. Separate that out. There we are. He just comes this way and that. Twisted with the weight of time and pressure. There we go. And we're going to do another one on the other side. Right here. These kind of act like a big gate. Nice big trees right at the entrance of the property. There we go. Just fill this in. Let that light bend around the tree. We like doing these paintings with these big trees. That's right, like you've been walking through the forest, and here it comes. There it comes. And just push those colors back in. There we go. Some more of this. He comes back this way too. There we are. You see, Beorn had a big gate there too, but a fence that went around. But I thought it'd be pretty boring if you just watched me paint a fence the whole time. So, that's why we came in. Give you this guy. There we go. Those give us some nice trees. There we are. So we're peeking through the forest at these trees, past these trees into Beorn's place. Now we do need to put some leaves on these trees. Now, these leaves are in shadow. So these are going to be very dark leaves. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting some of my phthalo blue into my dark mixture that I have here. Now, the same way we make snow break on the mountains, that's how we're going to do our leaves here. Oops. Settle down. Cut off a thin beam. And we're just going to, right here, just let this dark color just break right off. Right off. And what this does is this is making it feel like it's very ominous. Right here. Right here. Just these leaves and things. Let that canvas, let it take the leaves that it wants. Just scraping that paint right off. And just bring it so it makes something that we're looking through to see. There we are. And you let this break right off the palette knife, and it's giving you these dark leaves. And that's why we didn't want an ominous sky in this one, because we wanted a sense of when we make it through there, things are going to get better, because that's what happens in our story. It takes them getting through to this point for things to get better. They have some relief finally after battling goblins and wargs. Just mixing our colors together, coming up with that dark color, but it has lots of different tones in there. So on your painting, you have different things going on. Bring them this way and that. And what you're doing with this is you're just giving that feeling that you've been in a cave. Oh, a deep cave. And it's a way just to put on some thick leaves. And these can run together. So the trees intertwine there. Just continue to mix it up if you need. Now, when you're putting the paint on this thick, this paint will take a while to dry. So just be careful on this one. You might not be able to touch it for a week or two. It's also a good way to use up your paint without wasting it. There we go. So you see, with your palette knife, you can even put in some shadows of leaves like that. Let's finish out, right down here. And we'll put in some grass right down here at the base of our trees. Now remember, when you're putting in your grass, it'll be darkest towards the bottom and lighter up here towards the top, where that sunlight finally starts to pick it up. There we go. And maybe. Maybe our path comes right up in here. There we are. Come back to our grass. There we go. All right. There we go. That's a place that can give us a few nice respite after such a harrowing adventure getting there. That's right. For Bilbo and his dwarf party, they enjoyed staying at Beorn's Hall. Now, I know Beorn's Hall was much more majestic than this, and I'd love to see if you paint Beorn's Hall. I'm sure you could do a fantastic job. But I like to concentrate on the trees and things like that, and that's what I have fun doing. So I appreciate you being here with me today. Goodbye, and God bless. Thank you for joining me on today's painting. I'm so happy you were with me. Now, if you'd like to continue to go on painting adventures with me, become part of my fellowship, and you do that by clicking that subscribe button below. Yes, and be sure to give it a like and a share. That would be oh so helpful. Now, we don't know how many of these seeing stones are unaccounted for, so we don't know who else is watching. I've got to go. Have a good day.